Yosemite must be one of the most beautiful places on the planet, and if you're a climber, it's definitely one of the greatest. My climbing buddy Lou first introduced me to the valley when I was just 19 years old. In fact, we got there in style by cycling from San Francisco. Its most famous climbs and mountain monoliths are of course El Capitan and Half Dome. But the valley is abound with amazing climbs, whatever direction you look in. One of my first longer climbs was this beautiful route on Middle Cathedral. And what turned out to be a precedent for me, I spent a long night with my shoulders shoved in a crag. Many years later, I was back in the valley again, this time with Dan. I think we were there to climb El Cap, but we also had our eye on one of the classics, Lost Arrow Spire. One of the aspects that makes this a classic is that once you get to the summit of the spire, you can make your way back to the upper rim by setting up a Triolean traverse. We decided to do the normal route, where you rappel down from the summit rim into the notch and just climb the last 300 feet. We hooked up with a climbing pair we had met in Camp 4, which meant we could share our ropes and racks. This still left us a good 4 hours of hike to get to the upper rim. By the end of the summer, the Yosemite Falls are normally running pretty dry, but we still managed to find a couple of pools where we could cool off. It was already pretty late by the time we got to the summit rim. The first order of the day was to rappel down to the notch. I hate this shit. It's all so true. When you step round the corner, you suddenly realise it's a full 3,000 feet to the valley floor.
Okay, here's Toby on lead, the second pitch. The Arrowhead Spire. He's looking good, confident, looking for his gear.
So that was it for the climbing footage. This was pre-GoPro, and climbing and filming was not really an option. I think I remember a pretty cool hook move. We did manage to film one on another climb. Okay. And that's a hook move. I put my hand over it so if it pops out, it doesn't take my teeth out. I think we'd spent too much time having fun in the pools, and by the time we got to the summit rim, the sun had long set. If there had been daylight, this is what it would have looked like. Oh yes, and there was still the 3 or 4 hour hike back to the valley floor in the dark. To be honest, I've always considered myself a pretty rubbish rock climber, perhaps more of a alpinist chap. But when you sit here in the middle of the Yosemite Valley, surrounded by these peaks and faces, I always find myself thinking, I should at least give them a go.